Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Welcome to this first episode of a series of interviews which I will be conducting with the old alumni of International Institute of Islamic Economics at International Islamic University, Islamabad. We rather fondly call it IIIE. My first guest for this series is a very distinguished alumnus, Dr. G.H. Anjum. We call him fondly and with love as Anjum Saab. Anjum Saab was my senior when I started the university in 1986. He was already there. So he was not only a senior student at the university at that time, but he was very well respected member of the student community as well. I have these memories of seeing him for the first time. Like many of us, we came from the traditional college background. So Anjum Saab was one of the students who would come from the rural Punjab. Like myself, I came from a small town as well. But one thing about him was that he was not only very well accomplished academically, he was widely known for being an excellent athlete as well. In the Islamic University, when it came to athletics, mostly African students, they would do very well in the annual sports week. But Anjum Saab was the pride of Pakistani students because he used to represent the Pakistani students community very well, and he would win in a number of events as well. तो मैं इस इंट्रोडक्शन के बाद अंजुम साहब से ये पूछना चाहूँगा कि आपकी अर्ली जो लाइफ थी इस्लामिक यूनिवर्सिटी की, उसकी कोई ऐसी मेमोरी शेयर करें जो कि ना सिर्फ इंटरेस्टिंग हो बल्कि यूनिवर्सिटी की जो तारीख है उसके लिए भी उसकी एक अहमियत हो। अंजुम साहब, अस्सलाम वालेकुम।
वालेकुम अस्सलाम व रहमतुल्लाहि व बरकातुहू। Thank you very much for that very nice introduction, which I don't know if I deserve it or not, but thank you very much again. And it's a pleasure for me to be the first one in this series of interviews, and really it's very touching for me, and remembering and recalling the memories of my old days, golden days at university. The first time I saw Faisal Masjid campus, what a moment it was. I was outside GA2 Markaz. It was one of my relatives. He used to live there, and I came to him directly from my small town for my test and interview.
Can you kindly tell us which town did you come from?
I came from Sangla Hill. Sangla Hill, it's a small town between or close to Faisalabad.
Right.
When you are going from Lahore to Faisalabad on a train, then it is close to Faisalabad, not on the bus route, not on the road route, but it's on the train route. So I came from Sangla Hill to Islamabad, a totally different world for me. First time out of my home, not in the sense that I never went out of home, but in the sense that to live away from my home. So I came for test interview, and my relative, he said he will drop me off at the campus for my admission test, and I was with him on the bus stop, which at that time I remember there were Suzuki carried a bar, something like that,
Right.
right from G8 to Tipu Market. I still remember that name, Tipu Market, to Faisal Masjid. I was standing outside. It was morning time, and I saw. He said, he pointed out to Faisal Masjid. That, do you see that structure? And he saw a big structure with all shuttering and all that, four minars and uh, the dome, big hall, and but it was all covered with shuttering. You see, so
Right.
what is that? He said that's Faisal Masjid, and we will go there. So we took a Suki, reached there. That was my first sight of
Right.
the university campus. University campus at that time in 1983. It was
So it was in
1983.
1983 you went.
Yeah, it was
Okay.
1983 when I
Right.
came to Islamabad. I got admitted, and my was third batch of the university. So university IIIE started its first batch in 1981.
Okay. Right.
1981 batch. I mean, very kind, very soft-hearted students of first batch. I still remember many of them, meet them. I mean, here in Canada, I have some members of that first batch here.
Right.
And second batch, a lot of memories with those students as well. So mine was the third batch. It was a hostel life when I got admitted, and the hostel life during 1983 is incomplete without remembering and recalling Professor Sayyid Mahmood and R.M. Baloch Saab.
Right. No, I must say that I do not recall meeting them. So can you please tell us,
Yeah,
what was so special about them?
yeah. Professor Sayyid Mahmood Saab, he was the provost.
Okay.
So no one would live in hostels except facing that person. Very, I mean, honest but outspoken. He
Right.
was, I mean, उसका जैसे वो कहते हैं ना कि एक रोब था लोगों के ऊपर, स्टूडेंट्स के ऊपर. If any evening he would visit the hostels, people will just disperse and will not gather anywhere, and they will be in their room studying. Oh gosh, Provost Saab aa gaye.
Right. Right. Right.
And R.M. Baloch, Raj Mahmood Baloch, his name was Raj Mahmood. R.M. Baloch Saab, he was resident tutor, kind of resident house tutor or something like that. But he was administrative.
ये कौन सा हॉस्टल था, वो जो सामने वाला जो हॉस्टल नंबर 1 था?
Mine was the first batch who were allotted hostel number 2, west side of Faisal Masjid.
Right.
Two
Right.
apartment buildings there, 3 or 4 floors apartment buildings. So mine was the first batch when university started allotting that rooms in those buildings, Block A and Block B.
Right.
So when we go to from Faisal Masjid to hostel number 2, first one was the Block A. So I was allotted in Block A, but it was a whole story to go through it. I mean, what a episode to go through when you needed to get allotment in the hostel. People would line up outside the provost office with the applications in their hands, and I still remember a person I met there and became a very good friend after that. He was also standing there in the line. First day, he was an LLM student.
Yeah. What's his name then?
Misbahur Rahman Yusufi.
Right. Right. Right.
He later he became a university professor right there in Dawa department.
Okay.
But we both were standing together in the line to get allotment in the hostel, and both were scared because we didn't hear any good stories about meeting Professor Sayyid Mahmood at that time. Everybody was scared. I don't know whether we will get a seat in the hostel, we will get a allotment in the hostel or not. So much I mean, uncertainties at that time. And we were standing together, and that was our first meeting. And later he would become my very good friend. He was senior to me, definitely. I was a BSc honors student, and he was LLM student.
Right.
And but that was so. Without Professor Mahmood and RM Baloch, this doesn't. And then early days at the university, another person which must be remembered is Dr. Shafi Sahab, Dr.
Right.
Hassan Abdul Latif Shafai. He was an Egyptian teacher at that time. He was VP academics, and we were at that time we used to surprise. How would he know that I am from economics department, and another person is from Sharia department, and the third person would be from Dawa department. So what he used to do is during class time, he would visit the whole campus. I mean, campus was not that big. It's only 2 floors of the building, and 2 corridors, one going north, south, and the other one going east, west. So he would visit the whole campus, including the library, central library. He would go and will see who is just, sitting there or wandering around. And I mean, he would stop him. And the first question he would ask, brother, why are you not in class? You are from economics department. Why are you not in your class right now?
Right.
So we used to get scared. Oh, Shafi Saab aa gaye. It used to be, but we were surprised. How would he know that I'm from economics department? It's not written on my face or nothing. But there was a small distinction between at that time there were 4 departments, you can say. But yeah, economics department, which was known as IIIE, Sharia department, Sharia and law department, which was offering LLB and LLM classes. There was Dawa department, Dawa Academy and Dawa department also, which was Asuluddin and Dawa faculty. And fourth one was languages and linguistics department, which were
Right.
offering at that time Arabic courses, Arabic
Right.
language course. So,
अच्छा, मैं
but
आपको इधर काटता हूँ जरा जो
mhm.
when I went there in 1986, there was already a kind of sense of superiority amongst the IIIE students. They used to believe that they were far better than the students in other faculties. How did this feeling come up or creep into the thinking of the students of IIIE?
Yeah, that's a very good question and very good observation at that time which you had, and that was right at that time, because the IIIE students, they were mostly from the college background, and so were Sharia and law students, because they were uh, also they came from colleges. But especially Asuluddin or Arabic department, the students in these 2 departments at that time used to come from madaris mostly.
Okay.
So their attitude, their behavior, their appearance, their get up, their, so that was the basically that I was coming to in that point. Basically,
Right.
Dr. Shafi Saab, he used to look at the person, and if a person does not have a beard and well dressed, right, he would guess it most probably is from economics department. And he would
Right.
say, oh, are you from economics? And if a person is with beard and still well dressed, and I mean looks like he washed his face before coming to university, right? I mean, uh, IIIE people, they would shower before coming to university. A person, I mean, it's not against anybody. I'm just I'm telling the differences.
No, I think
how
it's
how
very
would dr
important. Yeah.
how
I
would Dr. Shafi guess who which department the student belongs to? It used to be a surprise for us. So तो जो बड़ा वेल ड्रेस्ड नहा धो के आया, पता लगता है दूर से, oh, he is from economics department. And
Right.
the one with beard and but still clean, well dressed and stuff like that. So he will be from Sharia and law. And very
Right.
simple dressed, very simple personality with mashallah big beard, sometimes even cap or some amama or something like that. Definitely a Suluddin. So
Another related question I want to ask, this is applicable to me, and I want to confirm whether your batch had similar feelings as well. When we used to go out in Islamabad, some people would say that, oh, are you from that madrasa, Faisal Masjid Madrasa? And we, the Islamic economics department students, we used to take offense, most of us. We would say, no, we are from International Islamic University. Right. Did you have that kind of feelings as well?
Personally, myself or my group mates, the people I used to move around with, going to markets or something, they were all like myself. I mean, I now I have a beard, but at that time I didn't have a beard, right? And I would be sometimes I kept my mustache. By our appearance or by our looks, nobody would judge where we are coming from.
Right.
But your feeling is correct. That you are right. It People used to think that these people who are here, who are studying here, this is some kind of a madrasa, and especially we had some interactions with Qaeda University students at that time. Some sports events or some cultural events or something like that. I remember early days, and they used to, uh, chant slogans like that. Oh, madrasa students and something like that.
Right, right.
Madrasa tha. I mean, what
Right,
is that? That was not a madrasa.
right.
But that was a feeling, and still perhaps I don't know if how the situation, because now it's totally different. They got their university got its own building. There are many more departments now, from 4 departments to many departments, and sciences and administration and humanities and whatnot. But what is the impression right now? See, I can't say anything about that, but yes, it used to be the impression.
Yes, I would say that the university has now modernized. It has become one of the mainstream universities from that respect. Let me ask you another question, because the other day we were having this conversation, and someone remarked about a number of very distinguished members of the faculty leaving the IIIE. And we did not benefit from all of them, but I believe 1983 batch must have benefited from all those exceptionally talented professors who joined the university at that time. Amongst them, who impressed you the most? I'm sure all of them, they were very impressive, but at least one of them you were in particular impressed by.
Well, what a faculty it was at that time. I mean, remarkable teachers, remarkable human beings. And I mean, I still remember, I mean, when you ask that question, I still have in my memory. When I came to university in 1983, we didn't have our first DG of the IIIE at that time. Our first DG at that time was Dr. Ziauddin Ahmad, marhum. May Allah bless his soul and rest his soul in Jannah. Wow. When he came to my class, I took a course from him. He used to
Right.
teach us current issues in Islamic economics. And
Right.
he used to coordinate and used to. He was he would come to class, and I still remember the day when he told in class. I mean, he was such a nice person, such a worthy scholar. He used, before coming to IIIE, he was deputy governor at State Bank of Pakistan.
Right.
Very prestigious post. I don't know how did he would have agreed to join, but it must be his passion for research, because he was from research background. And I was there at still BSc honors student when he joined as DG. Wow, what a person! And I still remember in my class, he's before partition in United India, he had his matriculation at that time in Gora Raj kind of thing. And I
Right.
remember his words. He said, when I did matriculation, the newspaper has the heading, "First Muslim stood first." These were his
Right.
words.
Right.
So he was of that, you know, इतना इतना बड़ा आदमी था. और then उनके बाद a long list of teachers, very nice human beings. Some have left this world. I mean, others, may Allah bless them a long, healthy life, are still with us nowadays. Naming them, starting with Dr. Fahim Khan Saab, Dr. Munawwar Iqbal, Dr. Muhammad Hussain Chaudhry marhum, Dr. And there are some names which I'm not sure if you would have heard them or not. Dr. Rauf Bhatt.
I heard of him, but I never met him.
Yeah.
I
So
I had the privilege of seeing Dr. Rauf Azhar, but not
Dr. Rauf
Dr. Rauf
Azhar.
Bhatt.
Yes, that's another name. He was also, so Dr. Rauf Bhatt, he had his PhD from British Columbia University and came back to Pakistan. He later worked as chairman economics department at Punjab University.
Right.
Then Ishaq Bhatti Saab,
Right.
he went to Australia, I heard. You might recall, ज़िया के ज़माना में एक टीवी पे प्रोग्राम लगता होता था, आओ अरबी सीखें. That was
Right.
the,
Yes.
and the teacher, there used to be two very cute kids used to be in the class, only two kids, I believe, or maybe three, and a teacher, very nice, well dressed, small beard and cap, and very, very nice looking guy. And his name was Ghazali Sa,
Right. Right.
right?
Ghazi Sahib ke bhai.
He was, yeah, younger brother of
Right.
Professor Mahmood Ghazi Sa. When I came to university in 1983, he was one of my teachers. When I saw him, I said, "Oh God!" I was so much. Oh, he is the same person I saw him in our BCK.
Right. Right.
So he was the person who taught us a few courses in my early days, Arabic course, Arabic language. और हमने उनसे सीखा. बड़े जॉली, बहुत नाइस उस्ताद. जाहिद हफीज साहब, another.
Zahid Hafiz Sahab, I had this very fond memory of him. He was, in my view, he was the best teacher of econometrics.
He was very,
I studied from him. I then went to Cambridge as well. So I can tell you that he was one of the best teachers who taught me econometrics.
Yeah.
Zahid Hafiz Sahab, I have
Zahid
great
Hafiz,
respect.
yeah, very, very nice person. I'm still in contact with him. He is in the US, so on and off we ask each other how are we doing. And then Dr. Mushtaq, he came from QAU. He did his master's in QAU and later on PhD from the US. And nowadays he is at LUMS Lahore. And
अच्छा चले टीचर्स की तो ये बात हो गई.
yeah,
amongst your contemporaries, your own class fellows and seniors and some juniors as well, Amongst your contemporaries, who impressed you the most during your stay and afterwards as well?
Well, I had a list of students, some of my seniors, some of my classmates, some of my juniors, who I still remember very first meeting with them. So I told about my first day at university, that when I came for my test and interview, admission test and interview. After the admission test, I was waiting for the result of that, whether will I be called for interview or not. Do I pass my admission test or not? I passed, and they said, okay, we will interview today uh, those who came from outside the town and those who came from within Rawalpindi, Islamabad area. Today they go home, they can come easily next day. So I was asked to stay for an interview, and we were sitting outside in the corridor on different chairs and spreading, and gap shap chal rahi.
Right.
And at that time, I remember some faces which I met them when I became as a regular. I came back as a regular student. The first faces of the university, they included Rana Zahid.
Right.
He was he was the person who would deceive. I remember already. I told the criteria of identifying students who belongs where, right? But he belonged to Dawa department, but no one would guess he is from Dawa department.
Right.
Everybody would say he is from perhaps Sharia. Right?
यहाँ मैं आपको बात काटूंगा. इसी तरह Khalil Hashmi is another one,
right,
who was from Dawa, but we would take him as economics department
student. Yes, yes, very right. Yeah, he was another one, very brilliant student. And other people from the first batch, Javed Jamali, Hafiz Sher Ali, Maher Zulfikar, Nasir, Mirza Arshad Saab. I remember him from the very first day, my very first day in whom may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give him Jannah. Amjad Maqsood, my own classmates who were with me, and I remember from the first day, Humayun Mughal, Gul Nawaz, another person, his name was Nasir Bilal. He came from Lahore, and I'm not sure was he able to complete his BSc honors, because most of my classmates who were able to complete BSc honors and then went on to do their MSc masters in economics, they were from science background. Those who came from arts background, FA or any other subjects, I mean, it was the math being and econometrics and other subject which were taught in the BSc honors program. It was difficult for them to follow. If you didn't have mathematical background or at least science background, it would be difficult to follow along. So Nasir Bilal, and then my roommate Muhammad Mateen. He recently,
all right. So Muhammad Mateen was your roommate.
He was Gul Nawaz and Mateen. They were my roommate. So very beautiful memories of those early days.
That's right. I must say that I have spoken with a number of your senior senior colleagues, juniors, and those who have the privilege of being your students. All of them, they love you. Okay, and I can relate their love, because even myself, I was 3 years junior to you, and I always had this huge respect for you. For among other things, myself, I was a brilliant student. However, I was pathetic. I was pathetic when it came to sports and athletics. Okay, and I used to see that this guy, Okay, he is excellent academically, but when it comes to sports, he's number one as well. How did you manage, this very impressive balance?
बात ये है कि जिस तरह का देहाती बैकग्राउंड और जिस तरह के रूरल बैकग्राउंड से मैं आया था, तो it was kind of, I mean, कहते हैं पंजाबी कहते हैं टालियां ते चढ़ना,
Right.
टालियां ते चढ़ते चढ़ते आगे बढ़ रहे, ये तो हमारे लिए कोई इतना वो था, मसला था ही नहीं. And I used to play from my school days. I used to play badminton.
Right.
My roommate and my friend, very good friend, Gul Nawaz, he was a very, very nice badminton player. I used to play outdoor, and every evening when in my matriculation days, we used to pray Ya Allah aaj hawa na chale taaki hamari baldi ko hum khel sake.
Right.
At that in Sangla Hill, there were no facilities to play properly inside indoor, because badminton is an indoor game. It's not an outdoor game. We used to play outdoor. And when I came to the university, hostel number 1 के साथ एक dome था बड़ा सा, if you remember. I don't know if that might not. Yeah. वो जो dome था बड़ा सा, that was constructed, I believe, for the construction purposes, but we had our mess in there, hostel mess. And उसका एक कोना जो था of that big dome, that was that had kitchen, and the rest of the dome was for the dining hall. And in that dining hall, there was a badminton court, and people who used to play badminton, they used to play there. There were other very nice players. I still remember Abdul Alim from Sialkot, and Zahid Rana himself. I mentioned that before. Right. He was a very good badminton player. But when Gul Nawaz came in, he was a member of the third batch of IIIE. Nobody after that ever, he stayed there for 4 years, and nobody ever won after that any match from him. I mean, he used to be the finalist and the winner of the badminton games.
Right.
And I used to take part in each and every sport activity, be it soccer, football, badminton, tug of war, running, high jump, long jump, anything. And I was the first one to use those dumbbells and वो जो वेट थे, बेंच था वेट के लिए यूज करने के लिए, तो वो मेरे पास होते, मेरे यानी कोई यूज ही नहीं करता था. आई गॉट देम इशूड इन माय नेम फ्रॉम द ऑफिस and put outside my in hostel number 1. There used to be 3 blocks in hostel number 1. Hostel number 1, वो जो नॉर्थ साइड पे क्लोज टू मारगला हिल्स, वो जो एक बिल्डिंग थी, 3 blocks थे उसके, दारुल हक, दारुसिद and दारुसाद. I still remember their names.
That's right. Yes.
So मेरी जो allotment थी, वो जो larger block था with 4 smaller apartments, वो दारुसादा था.
That's right. In the middle.
उसमें दारुसादा मिडल वाला था मेरा ख्याल. ईस्टर्न साइड नहीं था दारुसादा, दारुसिद था. दारुसिद, I guess Darul Haq was on the western side. So
yes.
वहां पे मेरी allotment होती थी, and I used to put those mats and weights and everything outside and used to practice there. So I mean, it was just kind of, but as you said, what was the technique? The technique was, I didn't know each and everything before. I mean, about economics. Economics was the subject which I got introduced to economics at IIIE. I never had that before. I mean, people studied economics in Urdu and in colleges, and no, I never studied that, and I studied it here. So I used to, whoever could, no matter what, my own friend, my classmate, my roommate, my senior, junior, whoever could help me, I would just ask a question. I never shied to ask any question to anyone. So I used to get help from them. That was my technique,
Right,
right?
right. No, we have, we can continue with this conversation for another 1 hour. However, we need to conclude. So
Yeah.
I would like to ask you at the end, okay, you have a lot of achievements, and you were one of the best students IIIE ever produced. And afterwards, you continued with your accomplishments. But because we are talking with reference to IIIE, would you be able to come up with any one single disappointment, something which you wanted to do while at IIIE and you couldn't?
First of all, thank you very much for these kind and good words. I was not the best. I mean, you yourself, you are right in front of me. You are one of the best. I
Well,
mean,
thank you very much.
no,
And I said,
yeah,
you are one of the best as well. So there were quite a number of others,
yeah. There were others, but you
yes.
still stand out. You still stand out. Believe me, you are very accomplished student and very nice member of IIIE community. I always look towards, you're such an inspiration for many students coming after you, and even for your seniors. We look at you and we see, oh, mashallah, you are a star, right?
Thank
So
you very
but
much.
my accomplishments and what I wanted to do, and when I joined IIIE, our teachers at that time, as I said earlier, Dr. Ziauddin Ahmad Saab and Dr. Fahim Saab, Dr. Chaudhry Saab, Dr. Munawar Saab, Dr. Faiz Saab. I mean, that was a point. We had perhaps most number of PhDs at IIIE, and they were all so passionate about their teaching, and they were so learned people at that time. So uh, we were told at that, it was Ziaul Haq regime at that time. Islamization was in full swings, Islamization of the economy. And we were told that, oh, I mean, you will be out of this institution, and perhaps, and they didn't even themselves perhaps had fully thought of how many people they would need to expand this IIIE. I mean, nowhere. I mean, it's a big opportunity and this and that. But the year I was graduating from my master's, that was the year when Zia's plane crashed, and there was a big unrest, a kind of political disruption, because it was smoothly sailing at throughout the Zia regime. Good or bad, I'm not going into these things, but
Right.
it was a disruption in the country. And next was PPP government, and university, which used to be kind of a star, was nowhere. It was kind of a political uh, uh, influence. But being inside the university, being a student, we had, I mean, over the time, through our training, through our uh, teachings, and day to day our life at university, perhaps what I think now, if I think back, I think we were kind of started idealizing what should be the ideal society, what should we, I mean, I used to think about our own setup there. I remember our teachers, they used to trust their students. For example, you wouldn't have seen that anywhere else. Teacher would give the exam to students to the class and would go home if it is late in the afternoon, or if he is unable to invigilate, and he will say, okay, here is the exam, do it and submit these exams after completing them. This is the time, stop at this time and give it to the office, and I mean, he would name a person, give it to that, and nobody would ever cheat in the exam. No, nothing. And I started thinking, I remember I started thinking that that's the society, that's the thing which should be everywhere. No cheating, no nothing. I mean, everyone who deserves something would be given the right. And unfortunately, that was not the reality. That was a big shock to me. When for example, I went to Qaeda University after that for my MPhil, and I saw there, if a teacher is not in the class for a moment, people start. I mean,
Right.
so but
Yeah.
that's the picture of the society as a whole. And it is, I mean, it's not abnormal, perhaps. It's not abnormal. It's, we are all human beings. It is normal. That's what I learned. And the university, what I learned from university, coming from a very kind of rural background and very closed mentality, I university, I learned a lot from university. And many people had uh, I mean, I was, my personally, I was impacted by many people, my colleagues, my seniors, my juniors. For example, I was not that much, though I'm not still not that much literary person, but I was, my love for the literature, Urdu literature, shairi, nasr, you name it, anything. I developed it there by meeting many people there who
Right.
who who polished my, perhaps it was in inside me and I never knew, but they polished it. And I knew how to I learned how to शेर कैसे कहना है, क्या है उनके, though I may not still know the rules of rules and something like that, whatever the शेर, वो नसर के शेर के rules हैं, मुझे still उनका नहीं पता होगा, but I learned from them. They were from different backgrounds, from madrasa background.
Right.
वो चाय के खोखों पे बैठ के गपें, वो सियासत पे गुफ्तगू, मुल्क की सियासत पे, इंटरनेशनल सियासत पे, वो शायरी, वो और यूनिवर्सिटी के अर्ली डेज के वो मुशायरे, क्या गजब की वो होती थी शामें, और क्या प्रोफेसर अनायत अली खान, आई स्टिल रिमेम्बर अर्ली डेज, टीवी सेट नहीं होते थे हमारे हॉस्टल में.
Right. I still remember there was a lot of resistance.
Yes. And we had, I mean, multiple agitations in front of university administration, and कभी classes भी छोड़ के देखी, वो हंगामा भी किया, यानी क्या कुछ नहीं किया, ठीक है. और हमारा ये मुतालबा था सिंपल कि भी टीवी होना चाहिए. हम शाम, पर्सनली आई रिमेंबर माय वन ऑफ माय क्लासमेट, ही यूज्ड टू लिव इन नेवल कॉलोनी flats, and I used to walk to his home to watch Andhera Ujala with my
Right.
other classmates. नहीं, हम 4-5 का हर हफ्ते हम हॉस्टल नंबर 2 से वॉक करके उसके घर जाते थे अंधेरा उजाला देखने. तो हम ये कहते थे यूनिवर्सिटी से कि भाई, व्हाई डोंट यू सप्लाई टीवी सेट्स. और मतलब ये कि हालांकि ये थी कि देयर वर स्टूडेंट्स हु वर अपोजिंग इट, राइट.
Right.
I don't remember the name, and even if I remember, I wouldn't name the person. एक बंदा था, उसने कहा, ये उसके अल्फाज थे, I'm just repeating his words just to share what happened,
Right.
just to enlighten the situation what it was. उसने कहा कि अगर हॉस्टल में टीवी सेट आया तो मैं उसको टक्कर मार के तोड़ दूंगा और खुदकुशी कर लूंगा. I remember one of very senior management person. We went in front of him and he said, "Okay, क्या मसला क्या है आप लोगों का?" मैं कहा हमें टीवी चाहिए.
Right.
Hafiz Abdul Wahid sir, I forgot to name him. He was from Daba department. So active. He was such an active guy. His younger brother was a faculty member at university. Hafiz Abdul Kabir Mohsin.
Right.
Such a nice and gentle person. I mean, he was such a gentleman, Hafiz Abdul Kabir Mohsin. And Hafiz Abdul Wahid, he was from madrasa, but you cannot tell that he is from madrasa, right? He was such an active person. So he told that university officer, he said, "What is your problem?" He said, "We need TV." He said, "Okay, but TV, I can't let other, I mean, the kids spoil and by this TV." He said, and Hafiz Abdul Wahid, he said, "Sir, come on. आपको टीवी पे तकरीर करना हो तो आप टीवी पे आ जाते हो और हम टीवी देख नहीं सकते." You see, I still remember his words. आपको टीवी पे तकरीर करनी हो तो आप टीवी पे आ जाते हो और हम टीवी हॉस्टल में नहीं रख सकते, हम देख नहीं सकते, हमें ड्रामा देखना होता है या हमें कोई प्रोग्राम, हमें आपका ही प्रोग्राम देखना है. लेट्स से आप आके दीन की बातें करते हो, ठीक है, हमें आपका ही प्रोग्राम देखना है. थैंक यू वेरी मच. बहुत से ये डिस्कशन तो यानी ऐसी है कि चलती रह सकती है.
I think we need another program. Okay. And जिसे कहते हैं कि अभी तो ये गर्म हुआ थी, महफिल गर्म हुई थी, and I actually started enjoying it even more.
Yeah.
But what we would do, I think we have to come up with more episodes like this one. We would definitely have another one. I don't know when. However, I must say that this was a wonderful first episode of this series of interviews with the alumni of IIIE. And Anjum Saab being one of the most distinguished alumni, he has shared with us a lot of memories which are going to become part of the history of IIIE and of the university, i.e. International Islamic University, Islamabad, to which all of us owe a lot for our personal development, as well as the development of the organizations and the companies and businesses we have been working for. With this, I, Humayun Dar, would like to say goodbye to you and thank you to you for being part of this episode. And I'm sure we would come up with quite a number of similar episodes in future. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.